Hi, welcome to Flow Quickie. So really nice short flow class for you today. Grab a block and a couple of cushions and then come to stand in the middle or the top of your mat when you're ready. So bringing the feet to hips width apart so you can feel grounded. And then if it feels comfortable, you can allow the eyes to close. So we'll just take a couple of moments at the beginning of class to kind of bring the body inward a little bit, get away from all the busyness of the day. So maybe starting by taking a little kind of sway side to side on the feet, so you're kind of bringing the weight into one foot and then the other. And then making those sways a little smaller, until you end up in the middle, in a place that feels comfortable. So bringing your attention to your feet, so to the grounding of the feet. Maybe you spread the feet a little, lifting the toes, let them softly come back down. Noticing the base of the big toe. Noticing the base of the little toe. And noticing the heel. So these 3 points support the foot, they help with balance. Maybe you can kind of feel little minor movements being supported by these at the moment. And then seeing if you can find a little bit more length for drawing up through the legs. When you get to the hips, perhaps the upper body can kind of lift up and out of the pelvis a little bit. So kind of finding a little bit of lightness above the pelvis. Maybe the hands and the arms open out so the palms are facing forward. And maybe as you do that, you notice there's a bit of a broadening across the chest, a bit more openness across the chest. Tucking your chin just slightly to bring a little bit of length into the back of the neck. And then taking a moment to stand up tall in this position. Perhaps noticing if this feels different to how you normally stand. How does it affect how you feel? How does it affect your breath? Maybe there's a little bit more space in the front of the body. So taking a couple of breaths here in this kind of tall standing posture in this strong pose. And then inhale, opening the eyes. We'll take a few arm circles. So inhale, arms come forward, palms facing forward, reaching up through the fingertips. And then exhale, cactus in the arms and sigh out. Letting the arms come back down. So inhale, arms reaching up, fingertips reaching up, palms facing forward. Exhale, cactusing the arms. You can take a sigh or a lion's breath out if you want. And then arms come down by the sides. One more time, reaching up with the hands as you inhale. And then bringing the palms together, hinging at the hips and down into forward fold. So taking the feet as wide as you want in this forward fold. And maybe the hands reach the ground, maybe you want to bend the legs, whatever feels good here. As you inhale, hands come to shins, drawing the spine long into halfway lift. Exhaling back into forward fold. So coming through this a couple of times, opening up the back of the legs. Inhaling, opening up into your halfway lift, finding broadness across the chest. Exhaling, forward fold. One more time, inhaling into your halfway lift. Really see if you can draw the crown of the head away from the tailbone. Exhaling into forward fold. And then if you're not at the top of your mat, finding a way to the top of the mat and stepping your feet back into plank pose. From here, coming through your version of chaturanga, so maybe you want to lower the knees down for this one, untucking the toes, and then bending the elbows towards the back of the room. and finding your way down to the ground. So I'm not going to come all the way down just because of my bump, but if you have come all the way down, pressing through the hands, peeling up from the tailbone, from the breastbone, sorry, not the tailbone, and finding your way into cobra, maybe a little baby cobra, maybe a full cobra. And then as you press through the hands, coming back up onto the knees, finding your way into downward facing dog. So tucking the toes under, lifting the hips up and back. And again, feel free to take a nice generous bend in the knees here if you want. Or you can begin to open up the legs. You can take a pedal through the feet, whatever feels good. Checking in that the head is relaxed, that it's heavy, it's not doing any work. And then inhaling up onto the toes, stepping forward with the right foot, grounding down the back foot, bringing it flat to the floor, bend through the front knee, rising up, warrior two. So hips are facing the side of the mat, fingertips are reaching to the front and the back. You can bring the gaze over the front fingertips if you want. And then taking a little step in with the back foot and straightening up the legs. Inhale, hands come up overhead, bringing palms together. Exhale, keeping the legs straight, palms come back down. And then moving the hips backwards slightly, reaching forward with the right fingertips, and then tilting at the waist, keeping the hands exactly where they are, coming into triangle. So maybe your hand finds the shin, maybe it finds a little bit higher up on the thigh, maybe the ankle, wherever you are, seeing if you can keep that openness through the chest that you had in warrior two. As you inhale, rising back up, taking a little bend in that front knee, so a slightly shorter stance, warrior two, and then hands by the feet, spinning onto the back toes and stepping back into plank. Coming through your version of chaturanga when you're ready. You can lower the knees again if you want, or come through with the knees lifted. Elbows bend towards the back of the room, inhaling upward dog or cobra. And exhaling, pressing back, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, rising up onto the tiptoes, stepping forward with the left foot, grounding down with the right, bending through the front knee, warrior two. Really reaching out through the fingertips and seeing if you can let the shoulders kind of drop a little bit. Sometimes they come up, sneak up a little high. Stepping in that back foot, straightening out the legs. Inhale, up with the arms, palms come together. Exhale, arms come back down. Hips move backwards, left hand reaches forwards, and then tipping at the waist, finding your triangle. So really seeing if you can find broadness and openness through the chest. Reaching up with those top fingertips. And then inhale, rising back up. Taking a little bend through that front knee, a little short warrior. And then exhale, hands by the feet, spinning onto those back toes and stepping back into plank. When you're ready, coming through whatever version feels good. Elbows towards the back of the room, inhaling upward dog or cobra. And exhaling, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, we'll add on a little bit. So rising up onto the toes, stepping forward in between the feet with your right foot, grounding down the left, rising up, warrior two. Taking a moment here, opening out in your warrior. Stepping in a little bit with that back foot, straightening the legs. Inhale, reaching up with the hands, reaching tall. Exhaling back to center, tipping hips back, right hand moves forward, hinging at the waist, coming into your triangle. Gaze can come up to the fingers if that feels good, or you can look straight ahead. If you want your block, we're going to come into half moon here. So option to grab your block in your right hand, and you'll be placing that just a little bit in front of the body on the right hand side. Otherwise, if you're coming into your half moon and you haven't got a block, then that's okay. Give it a go, fingertips to the floor. So pressing off the back foot, right hand comes forward, bringing the gaze down first of all, getting yourself balanced, and then opening up the hips and the arm to the left-hand side, kicking through the heel of that foot, so flexing the foot to help keep your balance. And seeing if you can find a little bit of openness through the chest. One more breath. And then seeing if you can very lightly step back into your warrior two. One more breath here. No worries if you have a little wobble. Exhale, hands by the feet. Stepping back into plank, coming through your version of chaturanga. So elbows towards the back of the room. And then inhaling, upward dog or cobra. Exhaling, downward facing dog. When you're ready, you can take a deep sigh out through the mouth if that feels good. Taking one more breath here. And then over to the other side. So when you're ready, rising up onto the toes, stepping forward with the left foot in between the hands, grounding down the back foot, rising up, warrior two. Really sinking down if you can, keeping that knee open. Inhaling, taking a little step in with that back foot, straightening the legs, reaching up tall as you inhale, palms come together. Exhaling, opening out, moving the hips backwards, tipping the right hand forwards, and then coming into your triangle. Opening up with that top arm, opening up through the chest, finding broadness. Getting ready to transition into your half moon, so absolutely grab hold of the block if it feels easier that way, if it's hard to reach the floor. Otherwise, bringing your gaze down to the ground in front of you, and then either holding your block in your left hand or bringing the hand forward and slightly to the left side of the foot, lifting up the back leg, kicking through the heel of the back foot, and then opening up to the left-hand side. So using active fingers and active foot here to help keep your balance. In your half moon. And then as lightly as you can, we're going to step back into warrior two, all the way back, rising up. One more breath here. Exhale, windmill the hands, either side of the foot, spinning onto the back toes, stepping back into your plank, and then coming through chaturanga, whatever feels good. So maybe you take the knees down, maybe you come through full chaturanga, and then exhale, downward facing dog. Hips reaching high in downward dog. You can take a deep sigh out through the mouth. On your next inhale, rising up onto the toes, stepping, walking, floating, coming to meet in halfway lift at the top of your mat. Exhaling into forward fold. Inhaling this time, bending the knees, reaching forward with the hands, rising up into chair. Checking the knees and not beyond the toes, sinking down a little bit more if you can. And then exhale back into forward fold. Stepping back into downward dog. And rolling forward to plank, lowering the knees down. From here, finding your way into your all fours position. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And we're going to come into pigeon, release the hips a little bit from some of the work they've been doing today. So drawing the right knee up behind the right hand, and then letting that foot come over to center a little bit. Walking the left leg backwards, checking that it's parallel with the mat, that it's not sticking out to one side or the other. And grabbing your block, you can pop that underneath the right hip if you want. So what that'll do is it'll just stop the right hip rocking over to one side, and it'll keep the hips a little bit more level. Taking the hands a handprint forward, and then you can come down as far as you want here. So you can use the cushions. They're quite nice sort of underneath the chest or underneath the forehead. So you can stay here if that feels like enough. You can come down onto elbows. And if you want to, of course, you can come down all the way. So your choice here, how far down you want to come. We're going to take a few breaths in this pose, allowing the right hip to very gently open up. For some of us, this is going to feel incredibly intense. So if this is feeling like a very, very strong hip stretch for you, then don't worry, it can feel really intense, that's okay. So feel free to come out a little bit if it starts to feel really strong. Walk the hands back in and stay in a more upright position. If your hips are very open, this might feel like a nice opportunity for a little rest. So feel free to take it, allow the forehead to come down to the mat, and keeping those hips level if you can. Couple more breaths here. So really sending your breath into that right hip if it is really feeling tight at the moment. And if you've done this pose before, you'll know it can be a bit of a creeper. It can feel really comfortable at the beginning and then suddenly start to feel really intense. So if you know you suffer from lower back pain or hip pain, this is a great one to do just kind of at the beginning or the end of each day to loosen things up. And you can hold it for up to sort of 3 or 4 minutes at a time. On your next inhale, walking the hands back in, moving any props that you've got out of the way. And then tucking those left toes so that you can walk the left leg back in and then bringing the right leg back as well. And you might want to take a little hip circle here just to release a little bit before coming on to the other side. So finding your way back to center, knees under hips and hands underneath shoulders. Drawing that left knee behind the right hand, letting their foot come to the center a little bit. And then walking that right leg back, checking that it hasn't snuck over or rolled over to the side. Block comes underneath your left hip if you feel that might be helpful, just to help keep the hips level. And then, of course, if you want your cushions, just to make this a little more cozy and comfortable, bringing the hands one handprint forward. Take a moment to see how that feels there. And if you want to come down a little bit more, you can come down onto your elbows. You can come all the way down, bringing the forehead to the ground. So, even if you're very comfortable coming all the way down, I really encourage you to grab the cushions. I never used to use them, and then I did a class where they offered a little bit of support, and it is just so nice having the cushions there. So, yeah, I really encourage you to make use of them if you've got them. It's nice to have that extra bit of support for the body. Otherwise, feeling into what it feels like on this side, it might be totally different. Might be that this side feels way looser or way tighter. So coming down to wherever feels good, easing off if you need to. Now we'll take a couple more breaths here. So seeing if you can send your breath down to any of those tight spots. Checking that your hips are still nice and level. So sometimes it can help to almost move the left hip back a little bit. And then you'll find that maybe you get a little increase in the stretch if you need it. One more breath in your pigeon pose. And then bringing the hands to the ground so that you can walk the hands back in, removing any props to the outside. Walking in that right foot and the right leg. Bringing the left leg back as well. Taking a couple of hip circles An option here if you want to, you don't have to, but you can take a downward facing dog if it just feels good to open up the back of the legs after that pose. Bringing the knees back down and finding a way onto your back. We're going to finish with a little spinal twist. So lowering down onto your back when you're ready. And just as if we were taking a little windscreen wiper to the side, you're just going to let the knees come over to the right hand side. Open up the left arm to the left side, gaze over the left hand. And then allowing a little twist here. So this is quite a gentle one. Just giving the spine a little bit of release. Maybe you allow your eyes to close. And maybe your breathing's a little heavier, a little deeper at this point in class. Winding down the body, allowing it to get ready to relax. Shavasana's coming up next. And then on your next inhale, bringing the head back to center, legs come back to center. And then as you exhale, legs come over to the left-hand side, right arm and hand open up, and gaze over the right side. So this is another really lovely one if you do get kind of lower back, hip pain, anything like that. Then these twists are really great for the spine. They get all the synovial fluid moving. Really great for spinal health. And incidentally, also great for digestion. So one more breath in this spinal twist. As you inhale, head comes back to center, legs back to center. And you can take shins, knees into the chest if you want. You can bring the head up to the knee. And as you exhale, opening up into Shavasana. So you can open up completely onto the ground. Legs come out, arms come out. You can keep the knees bent. You can take any other version of Shavasana that feels good. I'm going to gently bring myself up to seated. So getting yourself cozy, using your cushions to help you feel really comfortable, really supported. And then allowing your eyes to close. We'll take just a few moments here to allow the body to wind down, even on this short class. Really important to take at least a brief Shavasana. So just allowing yourself a couple of moments to experience how your body's feeling now, the openness in your body. And maybe noticing how it felt to take just that short little bit of time away from your busy day or whatever else has been going on. To kind of draw inwards a little bit, to not have your mind on anything else. Maybe allowing the body to receive a little bit of heaviness, a little bit of openness as it relaxes down into the earth. Allowing the feet and the hands to open up. Allowing space across the jaw, the face, the forehead. Taking a few moments here, giving yourself stillness, a little bit of peace. So if you're able to today, please do take a little bit longer for your Shavasana, even if it's just another minute, to be in this place. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste.